What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a good day and I hope you're having a good week. I'm going to talk about Donald Trump. President Donald Trump has claimed that he's going to get rid of the Iran deal, and I also want to talk about how the Iran situation and the Syria situation pretty much proves what everybody has been suspicious about for a long time, which that there is, as Trump would call it, a shadow diplomacy. Others would call it the deep state. And, some people call it the shadow government. What's happened over the last year has proven that that basically exists. So we're going to talk about the Iran deal, what was going on, what the media missed. We'll talk about all angles, and we'll also talk about how there is some sort of shadow government that seems to want to run completely separate to people we vote for. I'm going to pin something to the top. As always, while we're waiting for people to come in, follow me on Instagram at DreamRare. DreamRare. Someone said, "What's up, Dream Rare? You beat me to it." You said it right as I was saying it. We're like brothers. We're twins. So Instagram is Dream Rare. My Twitter is Legendary Energy, and I'll post all my links at the end. My free email list. Sign up. Someone said, CNN is going nuts. I mean, of course they are. CNN. I don't even want to really get into it. It's too early, but they are the military-industrial complex. They have a specific agenda. As I always say, it has nothing to do with women. It has nothing to do with the black community or the Latino community. They just pretend like it does so they could start their wars. That's why people are so upset. But we're gonna wait a minute or two for people to get in, because I got a lot to say about the Iran deal. I'm gonna explore all angles. I'm gonna be as honest as I possibly can. And I'm also going to talk about what CNN would never talk about and what MSNBC and others will not. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'm going to get in a little water and coffee real quick. Sandy, hello. Linda, thank you so much for joining. Sterling, what's going on? Okay, so let's talk about the Iran deal. Someone said the media is going nuts. Of course they are, because at the core of everything that the media does, they claim to have this virtuous, we care about women, but the second that there's like a terrible thing that happens to women and they're not a Republican or it's not Trump, all of a sudden they don't care about women anymore. And if you're black or Latino or, anything that they claim to we love more than you love, the second that you are free mentally and you love yourself and you love America and you love your family and you love God, or you do anything like that that triggers them, then all of a sudden they don't care about you anymore. They try to destroy your life. So let's talk about the Iran deal. So what was the Iran deal? It was during, whoa, I made this all spin. It was during the Obama administration. We passed a deal with Iran, which gave them, I believe, 1.8 or 1.9 billion dollars in cash directly to them, and then we unfroze assets to Iran. So the assets were between anywhere from $30 billion to like $150 billion that we basically gave to Iran by unfreezing their assets. And the media did a good job of covering this up, because Trump always says we gave $1.9 billion to Iran, or $1.8 billion. And he's like, we also gave them $150 billion. And you look at Snopes or PolitiFact, who are basically just undercover PR teams who pretend like they're fact checkers. They say, Trump is so crazy for saying that Iran got $150 billion. And then they say like half true. And then you read and they're like, well, we don't really know how much it is. Our estimates are around it's 50 billion or 70 billion. It's like, oh, wow, like you don't even know, but the big scoop is you think Trump's wrong, even though he could potentially be right. There's always more money than, the media says. They lose trillions of dollars and sell billions of dollars in weapons. But anyway, so the Iran deal was, we gave them $1.8 billion, $1.9 billion in cash, unfroze their assets of tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. And it was under the guise of like, you won't make nuclear weapons and we'll make sure you won't make nuclear weapons, but here's all this money. So there's one huge story that broke, I believe, a year or 2 years ago on Politico about Obama and Hezbollah, and it totally undermines the whole Iran deal. It doesn't really matter if you're conservative or liberal. This should be a concern to you. But the problem is that a lot of the country hates Donald Trump so much that they're like literally mind-controlled zombies and brainwashed, and they'll march in the streets and they'll say, let's take away guns, even though it's a fact that, the murder rate is now higher in London than it is in New York, and people are killing themselves with knives, and there were 4 people shot, this weekend in London. It's It's absolutely getting disastrous. Even though guns are illegal, they're still getting shot and stabbed. You know, none of that matters, because as long as you hate Trump, the truth doesn't matter. We won't pay. Sorry, somebody called in. Okay, so the political story that broke on Obama and Hezbollah was that Obama never disclosed, and this is a huge thing to disclose, doesn't matter your political affiliation, that he undermined, it was called, I believe, Operation Cassandra or Project Cassandra, which was multi-year-long investigation into Hezbollah, who was trafficking drugs and cocaine and probably weapons and other stuff. And we were trying to figure out where it was going and what was going on, and, you know, how much of that cocaine was coming to the United States and flooding the streets. You have a lot of, you know, activists who always say, you know, the United States government, they're flooding the streets with cocaine, and that's the reason that there's so much, you know, crack and cocaine in the inner cities. I mean, which is true. I mean, you know, people like Gary Webb did investigations in the 80s and then all of a sudden, you know, disappeared, whatever. But, you know, this was happening. It's the 21st century. It's 2016. This was happening. They were trying to figure out how much of that cocaine from Hezbollah was coming into the United States. But Obama completely just derailed the entire investigation into Hezbollah and how much, you know, drug trafficking they were doing in the Middle East and into the United States, because he thought it would affect the Iran deal. So that's totally huge. We never knew about that during the Iran deal. He just said, hey, it's gonna be peace for the world. And meanwhile, he derails a whole investigation into Hezbollah, which we just found out a year or two ago, which is a huge bombshell, changes the whole story. And then he gave them, you know, billions of dollars, and then tens of billions of dollars unfroze. So, I mean, that totally changes the whole story. If we would have known that that had happened, you know, a lot of the public would have not been totally on board with the Iran deal, or they would have been like, that doesn't make sense. So you're going to totally, like, you know, derail an investigation into what the news describes as a terror organization. And, you know, I don't know enough about Hezbollah to really tell you all of that. I know that they're a political party in Lebanon. They are, Hezbollah stands for the Party of God, so they are an Islamist, you know, extremely religious political party, and they are also the military wing of Iran. But I just want to keep it real for all of the people that hate Trump that say, oh, foreign collusion, this and that. I mean, you had a sitting president completely derail an investigation into Hezbollah, who works with the Iranian government, who potentially works with the Russian government, who works with the Syrian government. So once again, that whole, like, you know, media-controlled liberal mindset doesn't make any sense, because they're like, oh, don't collude with Russia, but you're allowed to give tens of billions of dollars to a country who literally funds a militant group who works with Russia and Syria and all of the people that you claim to be fighting. So, you know, once again, it just doesn't add up, and that was a total bombshell story that the media barely talked about. But why wasn't this explored during the Obama administration before we even get into Trump, you know, derailing the Iran deal? It's because during Obama's administration, the media had people in complete slumber. You know, me as well. I wasn't really paying attention, but to be honest, I was also like 19, 20, 21 years old. So, you know, I had other things to do. But during Obama's administration, they did a really good job of doing a lot of things at once to make sure that we never knew about this stuff, to make sure we never knew about the Hezbollah stuff or what was really going on in Syria and who we were giving money and weapons to, because Obama is a liberal. He's very well-spoken. He's cool. He's half black. So they used all of these things to be like, hey, if you question Obama, you're just a racist Republican. Or, you know, if you question what Obama's doing, what are you, racist and you hate people? And it's like, what? No, I mean, doesn't matter to me what skin color he is or what ethnicity is, but he's the president and he deserves scrutiny. So while they had that narrative of like anybody who questions Obama is, you know, racist or crazy, you know, bad Republican, they also were prosecuting the most journalists under the Espionage Act. So under President Obama, more journalists were prosecuted than under any other administration. Obama prosecuted the most journalists. It's just a fact. So, you know, there wasn't really a lot of reporting, and the media really just let him do whatever. And he was a genius of, like, using the media, like giving Ellen awards. You know, all of the celebrities love him. All of the rappers love him. All of the basketball players love him. Obama, he's cool. Yeah, yes, we can. Change is going to come. You know, and even now you have people that are highly intelligent who for some reason they think it's a smart idea to be like, well, you know, I'll agree with anybody that has that skin color, and I think it's okay just because of that. It's like, I mean, it doesn't make sense whether they're white, black, Asian. Their skin color doesn't make the content of their character, and just because they are a certain type of person doesn't mean that like everything they do is great. I mean, that's the most racist thing you could possibly think. But for some reason, there's millions of people who think, well, you know, he's a great guy because he's got that skin color. So, you know, all of these things at once, combined with the fact he was so cool, combined with the fact that he was funny and well-spoken, and he knew how to manipulate the media, and he also knew how to use the, whoa, you know, come on, I'm doing this for the gay community, I'm doing this for the black community, I'm doing this for the Latinos, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, this is how we get 8 years of complete delusion where nobody knows what's going on. And now, all of a sudden, everybody cares about every single thing that Trump does. And they act like they've cared for a long time. And I'm glad people are paying attention, to be honest. That's one of my most favorite things about the Trump administration. I'm like, yay, everybody cares about politics now. And everybody really wants to learn and stuff. So it's like, that's, you know, my optimistic approach. It's like, okay, people are paying attention, but they let Obama get away with so much stuff. And now that, you know, Trump talks about it, or I talk about it, or someone else talks about it, they're like, oh yeah, you're just trying to dismantle his everything he did because he was that guy. And it's like, no, I mean, you weren't paying attention for 8 years, and now you act like every single move Trump eats ice cream, and it's like a story. But Obama could give money to Israel and then give money to Palestine, and no one cares. It's like funding both sides of the war. Anyway, so the Iran deal was incredibly sketchy, and now you have, you know, I'll tell you two sides of the story before I get into why, you know, this proves that there is some sort of shadow entity that doesn't follow the U.S. politics. You know, is Iran building nuclear weapons? Were they doing what we told them to do? I mean, you know, Israel intelligence and our intelligence says that they have been building nuclear weapons and doing other things. And I don't, to be honest, even though I think the Iran deal was totally shady and not really productive like the news says, I don't specifically, to be honest, I don't trust Israeli intelligence or United States intelligence. I've seen how many times they've lied to us. So just because they say that Iran is building nukes, to be honest, I'm not buying it completely, but I also don't trust Iran's government. I don't think they're doing the right things, but I'm just throwing it out there because everyone will say, you know, you'll see conservatives say as soon as the intelligence lines up with their train of thought, they'll say, well, come on, how are you going to disagree with Israel intelligence? Or how are you going to disagree with General Mattis? And it's like the same people that will say that the deep state's lying to us and the news is lying to us. I'm not saying I know the answer. I'm just saying I see that, you know, as soon as it lines up with the liberal thought or the conservative thought, they'll say, how dare you, you know, disagree with intelligence? And like a month ago, they're like, oh my God, the intelligence communities are out of control. So who knows what Iran is doing? But I do know, on that note, that, you know, sorry, I lost my train of thought there talking about that. Oh, I wanted to say as well, you know, progressives and liberals will say that the Iran deal was good because it did stop. I'm giving you both sides of the story. The one side of the story is Iran isn't doing what they're saying. The intelligence is saying they're building nukes and they're doing all this bad stuff. And the progressives and the liberals will say the Iran deal was good. And they also do make a very valid point of if you see where the United States military bases are, they're surrounding Iran. So, you know, we are also very sketchy. We've done a lot of weird things. So naturally, you know, as a country, I do understand that you might want to have nukes, you know, and just like defend yourself from America, because we are, you know, all around Iran. If you watch some progressives, they'll show you where U.S. bases are. And also, I do want to say to both sides, and I think, you know, now that I've complimented and seen eye to eye with the progressives and liberals, I do want to say I do find their analysis also, they don't understand, you know, there is a huge religious undertone to all of this stuff, and nobody wants to talk about that. You know, they just say, United States is perfect, or they'll say the United States is terrible and Iran is an innocent victim. It's like, none of which is true. It's all perspective, and it's all, you know, full circle approach, but you can't look at something so simply like, oh, we're the bad guy or they're the bad guy, when you have money that goes into it, you have politics, and you also have religion at the core of this, where, you know, a lot of progressives and liberals say, oh, if the United States wasn't there, then everybody would be peace and candy corn and eating, you know, waffles every day. It's just not true. They've been fighting for thousands of years over religious ideology, and they even have fighting, you know, within Shiites and Sunnis, and, you know, it is, in a large terms, a mess. that they are fighting over. So that's all sides of the Iran deal. Let me know what you think, if it's good or not. I do think it's a step in the right direction because I think things are getting more transparent and we're seeing who's who. But on that note, now that I've talked about the Iran deal, I've explored why it was sketchy, all of the money that they've gotten and the fact that they probably didn't. I mean, in what way is like giving somebody billions of dollars going to stop them from building nuclear weapons? Like here's $2 billion in cash and $100 billion in frozen assets. Like, don't use it against me. It's like, I don't know. Especially when you lied about the premise to get there. He didn't disclose what was going on with Hezbollah, so it really just destroys the whole ideology of it. And the news didn't talk about it, but what this proves on a bigger scale, which I wish people were paying attention, whether they love Trump or hate Trump or whatever, everyone's so, oh my God, I hate Trump, so I'm going to jump off a mountain and I don't like water anymore because Trump likes water. You can really see who's who, and you're starting to find out that Republicans and Democrats, the OGs, the original gangsters in the politic realm, they're really just on the same team, and this is what everyone's always talked about. Oh, Republicans and Democrats are just the same. Trump's just another one of them. No, he's not. That's why they're all so upset. That's why you see John McCain and John Kerry freaking out and doing their own little shadow diplomacy. It's because President Trump isn't one of them. It's like he's not just another Republican. He's not just another Democrat. And now you see all of the fake Democrats and Republicans coming out of the woodworks, and that's one of the best things about the Trump presidency is you could really see who's who. If you stop talking about it and pay attention, you know who's who. Like, you still have people on the radio acting like they're woke saying, oh, Illuminati, Trump's part of the Illuminati, and oh, Trump is just another puppet. And it's like, yeah, okay, that, like, my friend made a good point. We were hanging out the other day, and he said, they're talking about what we've talked about in 2008. Like, we're in 2018, we're in the present moment, and they're talking about what we talked about in 2008. They're 10 years behind, acting like Trump's just an Illuminati puppet when he's really not. I mean, he's showing who's who. I don't have to pretend like in 2008, I was like, who's the Illuminati? Is it this? Is it this? Now I know who's who. I know which news networks are working with who. I could tell you right now, they're working with them. They're owned by them. This guy bought this guy and has a contract with this guy. This guy's working with this country. This guy's working with this organization. I know who's who. Stop talking 2003 acting like you're woke on, oh, the Illuminati, Donald Trump. And everyone's like, yeah, dude, he's so woke. It's like, no, that's what we did in the 2000s, bro. We're in 2018 now. Pay attention. So on that note, you can see with John Kerry in Iran and John McCain in Syria, there is a shadow diplomacy. There is a Democrat-Republican connection, but Donald Trump is above it. Donald Trump is the revolutionary. Donald Trump is the rebel. Donald Trump is the chink in the chain that is totally exposing that whole plot. If you just take your hate aside, if you take your ego and your bias and your feelings and your emotions about how sad you are about what happened to somebody that might have never even happened or whatever, I don't know, like CNN made you cry or something, or Donald Trump made you cry. If you take away all that, you realize he is exposing the shadow diplomacy. Because what happened in Syria? Trump, and this is like the irony of everybody cares about foreign collusion so much, but they're not even paying attention. Obama with the Hezbollah-Iran deal, I mean, Hezbollah works with Russia and Iran, and he derailed an investigation into them and then claimed he was fighting them. So, I mean, what's bigger collusion than that? They're literally working with those countries. Donald Trump eats an ice cream and drinks a Russian vodka, and they think he's working for Putin. Anyway, in Syria, Trump said he was going to reverse the policy, and he actually did. Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State and running for president, and Obama, they had some weird thing that wasn't working. They were like, hey, we're going to fund rebels. Who are these? We still don't know. I've been waiting for a liberal or progressive. No one knows, and most progressives actually agree with what I'm about to say. They're pretty woke when it comes to the Middle East. Who are the rebels? These rebels that John McCain loves and flies out to talk to. So it's like their idea was like, let's fund these rebels, aka militants, or in some cases just straight up terrorists. Let's fund them to fight the leader of Syria. I mean, they did that in Libya, and they killed the leader, and now there's just a power vacuum, and it's way worse. So they were trying to repeat the same mistake, and I mean, it's not just a little mistake, it affects people's lives, and in some cases, enslaves people. Where are all the hip-hop commenters who are like, I'm so mad about slavery? Then why don't you care about slavery in 2017 and 2018, you know, caused by failed policies from fake Democrats and fake Republicans? Anyway, so Trump reverses the policy. He has a common sense, normal person approach. He's like, instead of like funding terrorists, I'm gonna fight the terrorist groups, and I'm gonna work with, you know, people who are fighting the terrorist groups, and I'm gonna cut the funding to the rebels. So Trump cuts $1 billion CIA program. I mean, this is not a conspiracy theory or a whistleblower thing or anything. I mean, the reason I know this is because I read it in the Washington Post and CNN and Politico. I mean, it was in all the mainstream things. He cut $1 billion funding program to the rebels. So what does John McCain do when Trump is reversing the policy and trying to fight terrorism? He flies out to Syria and he's chilling with the rebels. So it's like, I mean, hello, is anyone paying attention? That's a Republican who's supposed to, oh, Trump's just another Republican. Is he? Then why are other Republicans like John McCain flying out to Syria to hang out with the rebels who Donald Trump is cutting the funding to? So, I mean, it's just proving that there is shadow diplomacy. Yes, the Democrats and Republicans are, you know, working together, but no, Donald Trump's not Illuminati and he's just another one of them. No, if you pay attention and stop watching fake news, you'll figure out who's who. Trump is the real deal on a lot of aspects. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's not one of the same, and John McCain is one of the same. That's why he's like, Donald Trump can't come to my funeral. I mean, what? Who does that? Who disinvites somebody from their funeral? Like, that's the weirdest thing ever. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Donald Trump's such a bad guy. No, John McCain's all mad because Donald Trump messed up his war plans. He's like, dude, I spent billions of dollars funding these rebels and you just come in and, you know, get rid of them. How dare you, you know, get rid of the terror organizations that I'm funding. That's why he's so mad. Everyone's, oh, John McCain's such a great liberal conservative. Oh, he's such a better... No, he's mad. He's not mad. You think John McCain's mad because Trump grabbed him by the... You think John McCain's mad because Trump is mean to black and Latino people? No, John McCain doesn't care about anybody. He's mad that Trump messed up his war plans in Syria. That's why he's disinviting him to his funeral. If you know, Trump would have been like, here, rebels, here's some bombs so you could kill innocent civilians in Syria, John McCain would be like, Trump, you could sit front row at my funeral. I mean, it's not a Super Bowl game, dude. You're gonna die. Eventually, everyone's gonna die, and it's not like a big sporting event, dude, where you invite and disinvite people. I mean, we get it. You're mad because Trump didn't fund the rebels in Syria, and you wanted to fund the rebels, so you flew out and took a flight. And the point I'm making is John Kerry, the Democrat, did the same thing in Iran. I mean, Trump is ending the Iran deal because it made no sense. It was basically crafted on false pretense, and like one of the biggest stories was literally axed and thrown to the side, the whole, you know, Hezbollah investigation beforehand, because he didn't want to upset Iran. And I don't know that Congress would have actually passed and been on board with this type of stuff if they would have known, or the media, if they actually did their job. But at this point, there's only like one real journalist on television, so it's like nothing they do is really going to sway their fake news, because they're, you know, basically programmed there to do fake news. But it was all made on false pretense. So Trump comes in and says today, hey, I'm going to, you know, get rid of the Iran deal. Same thing he's been saying for 2 years. I mean, he's been 6 years, 5 years. He's been tweeting it forever, saying it's a mess. They're giving them cold cash, and, you know, they're not, you know, doing the right thing. So John Kerry flies out to, I mean, somebody, you know, tell me if I'm wrong. He flies out to Iran to negotiate his own little shadow deal, and that's okay. I mean, wake up, my friends. And I'm not saying you could have your opinion, oh, this is good, that's good. But we don't have a real democracy. We don't have a real republic. The second that Donald Trump won, they've been trying to have a coup on him. They've been trying to undermine his presidency with fake news, accusing him of what they're doing. Oh, Trump's working with Russia. No, they're working with Russia. They're literally selling uranium to Russia. I mean, you know, the last administration approved a deal to sell 20% of the United States uranium to Russia. You have, you know, Obama axing a Hezbollah investigation, and Hezbollah directly works with Iran, Syria, and Russia. So it's like they're working with Russia. They've somehow used people's hate. Ooh, Trump said grab them by the pussy, so we're going to program you like little robots and you're going to march in the street against guns, even though people are getting shot and stabbed in London, and the police are taking away knives and scissors from like plumbers and electricians. Like, this is real life, people. I mean, just because you repeat the same lie and march in the streets like little robots doesn't mean it's true. I mean, they were working with Russia. Obama was working with Russia. Hillary was working with Russia. The United States in general was working with Russia. If you ever read a history book, according to what they told us, they say we worked with Russia to defeat Hitler or whatever. It's like, we've worked with Russia so many times, so it shouldn't be a big scoop. Ooh, Trump wants to get along with Putin. Whoa, oh my God. Like, they're taking tens of millions of dollars from Saudi Arabia directly, and Trump might have had, oh my God, Flynn had a conversation with someone from Russia. Of course he did. That's his freaking job to talk to them. And you're taking, I mean, literally they flipped the story. So, you know, Trump does his job and says, I'm going to be the president and make a decision here that makes a lot more sense than your fake decisions. And John Kerry thinks he's the president, or he thinks he's the foreign diplomat. He flies out there. So regardless of if you're liberal or progressive or conservative or libertarian, blah, 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 you don't care, or, you know, you think everything's crazy. One thing that we should all be able to agree on is there is some sort of shadow thing going on. It is Democrat and Republican. They do want to undermine him with the intelligence communities and these people. They don't take orders. They literally tell you right on CNN, they're like, Donald Trump is crazy. He's been there for 2 years. We've been there for 50 years. I mean, it's not even like hard to, people will be like, anomaly, oh my God, he's a conspiracy theorist. I'm just telling you what they tell you on CNN and Washington Post. I mean, they show you, they literally tell you to your face, like, democracy dies in darkness. Like, we don't allow anybody besides the puppet that we want to be there. That's why they're so mad. And I've been saying this for 2 years. I get it. I get why people don't like Donald Trump. It's not hard for me to figure out. He can be very arrogant sometimes. You know, he's very confident and very cocky. That offends certain people. He's very blunt. You know, he's not the most considerate speaker. You know, but none of the news sources and the politicians that you think care about you, I get why you might not like Donald Trump, but like the news, they're like, oh my God, John McCain and John Kerry really, no, they care about the military industrial complex and their war plans that they've had for 11 years. They don't care about women, they just use women. They don't care about Latinos, they just use Latinos. That's why as soon as Latinos don't, you know, Latinos have family values and they love God, and you know, a lot of them, the older ones, are conservative. Now all of a sudden they don't even care about Latinos anymore. They care about, you know, illegal immigrants. They're like, let's get some more people who will vote Democrat. They don't care about their lives or anything. I'm sorry if that's a bombshell story, but behind all of this stuff that they act like they care about, and I'm not saying I do, I care about every community, every race, religion. I want us all to be free and happy. I don't want racism or hate to exist, but they just pretend like that's their big goal so they could start a war with Russia, so that they could give Iran money, or they could do this and that. They had a specific agenda in the Middle East, and Donald Trump ruined their whole agenda. They had an agenda to turn Syria into Libya. They don't care if there's slave trade there. They don't care if there's organ harvesting there, because they could convince liberals in America that they're great people. It doesn't matter how many people get stabbed or shot or exploded in, you know, Germany and France. And, you know, I talked to a girl yesterday and she said, oh, you know, I was in France and like I almost got raped. Guys surrounded me and they grabbed my breast right in front of the, you know, in front of the Eiffel Tower. It's like, yeah, I'm not surprised, because that's happening all the time, but the liberal media will refuse to report on it. They don't talk about anything. And I'm just being real. If you're a real liberal, you'll respect me and appreciate what I'm saying. It took the liberal media and the mainstream media, which are one and the same now, they are just fake liberals because they don't actually care about women. It took them 3 years to report on what's going on in Sweden. In 2015 in Sweden, there were 150 explosions, you know, dozens of grenade attacks. There were 30 explosions in Sweden. It's not a very big country. Explosions. 30 explosions in 1 month in the city of Malmo. Could you imagine 30 explosions in Los Angeles, 30 explosions in New York City, 30 explosions in Houston, 30 in 1 month in one city? and the media didn't report on it till 2018. It took them 3 years to report on 30 explosions. They don't care how many people get stabbed. They don't care how many people get raped or blown up. They won't report on it if it doesn't fit their agenda. And their agenda doesn't make sense because they don't actually care about women. They don't actually care about black people. They don't actually care about Latinos. They care when women are easy to be manipulated. And they're like, oh, I love Planned Parenthood, so you can go bomb Syria. Oh, yay, you made it so gay people can get married. Now I'll turn a blind eye when you completely turn, Libya into a hellhole for the poor people who live there. I mean, yay, oh my God, you hate Donald Trump and I hate Donald Trump, so I will just completely ignore the fact that you're the ones working with Russia and Syria. I mean, this is what they do. They are fake liberals who exploit people's emotions so that no one pays attention. I mean, this is how sick and disgusting the media is. Like I said, in London, the crime rate and the murder rate is higher than New York City for the first time in ever modern history. There's 4 shootings, I believe, little kids, 15, 17, getting murdered in London. Nobody cares. I mean, murders happen everywhere. I don't want to prey on people's fear and stuff, but this is the reality. I'm not saying to be scared if you live there. Oh, live your life in fear. But what I am saying is they don't care. It could get bad and bad, explosions. They won't talk about it unless it fits their racial agenda, unless it's like a white conservative guy who got mad at somebody at a coffee place. Let's talk about that. But 30 people get exploded and 50,000 women get raped. It's like, well, we don't want to talk about it because it destroys our whole narrative that gun control is going to work. It doesn't work. It didn't work in England. I mean, we don't have to pretend like, I wonder what would happen if we took all the guns and knives away. Look at London. The murder rate surpassed the murder rate in New York City for the first time in modern history now. And what are liberals doing? And they're marching in the streets saying Russia's working with the NRA. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And what I'm trying to say is the Iran deal, regardless of what you think about it, it wasn't what the media told you it was. So, in order to really understand and have an opinion on something, you have to first understand the deception and the delusion. So, overall, what do I think about the Iran deal? I don't know. I think it was sketchy to begin with. I think it was made on false pretense. I absolutely don't think for a second that it prevented, Iran from doing anything that they don't want to do. I also do think it's a little, keep an eye on people like Pompeo and Bolton, who are now high-level positions in the Trump administration. Bolton is a war hawk. A lot of conservatives don't like him. Some do. Pompeo is also a war hawk. And, one of my least favorite things about Pompeo, I respect him and appreciate him, whatever. But, he's very anti-Julian Assange. And I think Julian Assange should get his internet reconnected and people should leave him alone. So, that's on my thing. So I say keep an eye on those people. Let's see what happens. Nobody's perfect. But, that was kind of loony. The media's been lying a lot. And also, I mean, what have we been doing? It's easy for people to say, oh my God, Iran is doing all these terrible things. But it's like, what has the United States been doing? And I'm not like being a self-hating person like, oh my God, we should blow ourselves up because we're so terrible. But it's like, I mean, the whole world is kind of in a weird panic because like everybody's doing weird stuff. Everybody's selling weapons and funding terrorists. And it's like, we need a sit down moment for a week to be like, what are we really doing here? So overall, I appreciate Trump for breaking the matrix. I know he is breaking the illusion and people can't handle it. And I'm sure the media is freaking out right now. But one thing I think everyone should be able to agree on is there's clearly some sort of shadow entity that thinks they're above the government, above the president and doesn't want to listen to them. They admit it to your face. McCain is showing you in Syria. John Kerry is showing you in Iran. And I do hope that this can lead to world peace. I think it will. I think we're getting to that point. It might get a little weird, but I hope that, Trump and Iran and we can figure it out. But like I said before, it's a multi-layered issue. And I think anybody who says otherwise is lying. You'll listen to certain progressives and liberals and they'll say, America's the worst. It's all our fault. America's, we're the terrorists. And if we stop doing everything, everything will be perfect. We have done terroristic stuff, but Iran and the religious extremism, not with the people, but in certain elements of the government and people that they're working with, there is so many elements, it's so multi-layered that it's really hard to figure out what the right answer is and what will solve it, but I hope for it. And I do want to, I want to leave on this note, you know, a humanitarian note. I had an Iranian driver, you know, a few weeks ago or a few months ago, and he said to me one thing, and I'm going to spread his message, you know, as I've already had my critiques and everything about what's going on. He said, one thing I wish the American people knew, you know, when you come to Iran, it's not like the media says it is. And I'm not talking about the government. I'm not talking about the elements of the people that they work with, similar to us. But he said, I wish people knew, when you walk the streets of Tehran or other cities in Iran, it looks just like Los Angeles or New York City. He's like, we're not different. We dress like you dress. You know, we listen to music. We have nice apartments and stuff. So he wanted people to know, I'm spreading his message, that, you know, don't look at the people of Iran. You could have, you know, opinions about the government and what Obama did and this and that, and that's totally justified. Just like I said, I probably agree with you on most of it. But, you know, don't look down at these people, because that's also a way that the media divides us, and, you know, they turn us into enemies. Yes, there are elements of the government. Yes, there are beasts, but the people of Iran, you know, they're good people, and they're people just like us. So that's what he told me, and I'm spreading that message. He said, you know, our cities look just like yours. We're not a terrorist haven. I'm not saying that their government aren't working with certain elements just like ours aren't, but, you know, don't look at them like they're just in a bunch of sand dunes and they're a bunch of savages and stuff. It's just not true. It's good people out there, good energy, good vibes, and we're all kind of just, you know, not really in power as far as our government. It's not our fault. Just like it's not my fault. I'm not ready to destroy my life because, you know, Hillary Clinton and Obama and George Bush, you know, made mistakes or whatever, you know. So it's just, it's not theirs people's fault. That's all I'm going to end on that note. Let me know what you think. Thank you for listening. God bless you. God bless America. God bless the world. And God bless your family. As always, I'm going to post my links below. If you'd like to support, I'm going to post my donor box link. It's like Patreon. If people know what Patreon is, I just like it better. It works better for me. Also, I'm going to post my free email list. It's free. My Instagram is Dream Rare. My Twitter is Legendary Energy. Check out my video yesterday. I said the truth about hating America. You know, I wanted to talk about that and the hate that people have for our own country. And also, I'll have a new video tomorrow about polls. And I'm going to say why polls are false and wrong so much. I kind of do a little bit of investigation on polls and how accurate they are and why they're so inaccurate. It's one of my best videos in a while, I think. Thank you guys again. Links will be below. Have a good day and let me know what you think.